Go Knights, go! 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 Hello everybody, and hello hockey fans out there. Welcome to another edition of Knights This Week, brought to you by the letter K and the letter L. LK, London Knights, get it? Well, this is your host and superfan Jason Banks coming at you again with another edition of Knights This Week. So, this week we got 2 games to cap up for you. So we're going to do that here tonight. And we're going to see what happened in those 2 games. And we got some news to get you updated on too. But welcome to the show. And so let's not hesitate. Let's get right into this, shall we? And let's find out what's happened with our London Knights this week and in the 2 games they played. So, as you might have remembered from last Knights This Week, the London Knights have not been doing very well. I had told you that since it started the season 1-1, they excuse me. Since they started the season 1-1, they have not won one single game since then. And so, what are they going to do this week in 2 games? Well, they're tangling with 2 pretty good rivals and opponents. First and foremost, they're both at home. So last Friday, they were playing the Windsor Spitfires here on home ice. 3rd time already this season. Very young in the season, too. 3rd time already that these 2 teams have tangled. Seems to be one of those matchups where the OHL scheduled it to get as many over early in the season as possible, perhaps. They play each other 6 times in the season, and this is already their halfway point of meeting each other. So last Friday night, Windsor Spitfires came into town. This was after London had played in Windsor the night before, so a home-and-home series. So what happened with the Knights in this one? Well, the Knights arguably, you could have said, played their best game of the season. The night before, obviously in Windsor, they played very well. They were tied 1-1 halfway. They were tied 1-1 with 5 minutes left to go in the 3rd. Until Windsor would get a really fluky goal, and then Windsor would get the empty net goal to win. In this game here at Budweiser Gardens, let me just get you on cue with this one here. Let's see if I can find it. And here we go. I can tell you in this game, the shots were in favor of the London Knights, 39-11. 39-11, folks, in favor of the London Knights. So you would think with that kind of a shot ratio, you would think that the London Knights would be winning this game, right? Bam! 39-11 in shots. And yeah, that's awesome. 39-11 in shots on net for the London Knights. They had Jordan Coy in net in this one. Windsor was going with their all-star goaltender, Michael DiPietro. And so that was the shot clock. But the unfortunate part of this in hockey is a game, and sometimes shots don't necessarily indicate anything on its own, and it certainly didn't in this game, as on this night, being outshot 39-11, the Windsor Spitfires still left Budweiser Gardens with a 2-1 victory over the London Knights. So, the London Knights losing streak extended to 7 games in a row. Windsor's goals came from Aaron Lukchik at the 1916 mark at the first, and then Playfair, C. Playfair, I don't know what his first name is, and I should know that, but I don't. He scored at 1:18 at the second to make it 2-0 for the Spitfires, and then in the third period, spawning for the only goal for the London Knights was Cliff Pooh, as Cliff Pooh got the Knights on the board at 13-24 at the third, but it wasn't enough. It was a power play goal too, but it wasn't enough, as the Windsor Spitfires would hand the London Knights their 7th straight loss by a score of 2-1. So a rather bad break for the London Knights. It just seems like the Knights, excuse me. Here we go, I'm going to come at you better here. It just seems like the Knights can't get a break this year. And they didn't in this game, as the Knights lost 2-1 to the Spitfires. In a game they absolutely dominated the Knights. But what are you going to do? And Michael DiPietro is, in my opinion, I think he's the best goaltender in this league right now. And he certainly showed that why on Friday night. So the London Knights, despite playing well, despite getting plenty of chances, plenty of shots, could not get a W in this one. And as a result, they dropped to 1-8. 1-8 on this young season. Just bear with me here. I just got to get some notes. So that's what happened on Friday night, and our first game of this show, Nights this week. 2-1 Windsor over London at Budweiser Gardens. So, we would go to Sunday, and on Sunday, the Owen Sound Attack would make their first visit into Budweiser Gardens this year. The very highly vaunted Owen Sound Attack, very much pegged to be big favorites in the OHL this year with their season they had last year and the talent that they have on their team. So Owen Sound coming into London to play the Knights. Owen Sound has only lost once in regulation this season so far. So not a very good task for the London Knights, obviously, as the London Knights have only won one game this year. So what was going to happen in this one as the Knights and Owen Sound Attack played each other at Budweiser Gardens? And certainly early on in the game, it looked like it was going to be the same. It was going to be the same story again here in this one. As, I'm just going to go through the scoring summary in this one. In the first period, Aiden Dudas for the Owen Sound Attack scores at 4:46 to give the Owen Sound Attack a very early lead in this one. At 4:46 at the first, Alan Lescharek got an assist on that goal, made it 1-0 Owen Sound. That was what the score was after one period of play at Budweiser Gardens. And the Owens, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So that was in the first. And then in the second, at 8:26, Maxim Shusko, who is one of these great young talented players for the Owen Sound attack, he scored his 7th goal of the season. Marcus Phillips and Cole Cameron got the assists at 8:26 of the second, made it 2-0 Owen Sound. Despite the fact that London had plenty of chances in this one, again, for the second game in a row, the London Knights would put a lot of shots on net, and they would actually outshoot the Owen Sound attack on this one, but it was not working up to this point. In the third period, electricity came into the building as at just 57 seconds in, these London Knights, who have been having a really hard time scoring goals this season, who can't seem to get a goal past a goaltender, at 57 seconds, Robert Thomas got his second goal of the season from Cole Timken and Shane Collins at very early on. Bam, just like that. And I'm going to... Bam, just like that. Don't forget the London Knights are not out of this game. It was 2-1, just like that, very early on in the third. A brand new hockey game. Lots of time left yet, and the London Knights are right back in it. But then if you ever want to see the back break on a camel, just fast forward about 2:20 later on, because 2:20 later on, Owen Sound would get a terrible goal, and it looked like the London Knight defenseman actually, Regula, it looked like he put it in his own net actually, and I think he did. Nick Suzuki got credited for the goal, his 7th of the season, from Maxim Susko and Kevin Hancock at 3:20. And just like that, the air deflates out of the balloon, and the Owen Sound attack are back in this game, back up by 2 goals. But hey, let's not count the Knights out just yet, because at the 6:17 mark, Evan Bouchard would get his 2nd goal of the season. Robert Thomas and Adrian Carbonera would assist on the go at 6:17, and Knights are back within 1 again at 3-2. And then at 12:56 of the third, the London Knights would get yet another goal. And boy, if you talk about awesomeness, yeah. The London Knights tied a hockey game up at 3 when, and you know what, I have to give a boo on this one, because boo, not poo, boo. They at first said Alex Turco got the goal to tie the game up, and for that we would have been like, way to go, Turco! Your first OHL goal! Yes, originally it was Alex Turco, and it looked like his first OHL goal. But later on I check and I'm like, hey, where's his goal? They took it away from him. Yes, they deemed that he didn't actually get the goal, but Josh Nelson got the goal. So Josh Nelson gets the goal. His 4th goal of the season from Alex Turco and Jacob Golden. Nevertheless, it's still a tying goal, and it's still a huge goal for the London Knights. And it tied the game up at 3. And that's the way it stood for the rest of the third period. So, the London Knights are going to overtime. So, I'm going to call this a bad news, good news scenario. The good news is the London Knights are guaranteed getting a point in this game. And lots of positives in this game. They outshot the Owen Sound attack. They outplayed them, I think. And they were just very good in this game. They came back from 2-2-goal deficits against a very good team in Owen Sound. So lots of positives in this one. However, the bad news is this. At 1:44 of overtime, Sean Dursey broke in alone on Tyler Johnson, who was in net at the time, scores past him his 4th goal of the season at 1:44 of overtime to give the Owen Sound attack a 4-3 victory over the London Knights. So, rather heartbreaking for the London Knights as they fought back in this game. They played very well, had good chances, and you know what? They got 3 goals in 1 period, folks. 3 goals in 1 period. And let's take a look here. Up until that point, they had only scored 15 goals for the whole season. For 9 games, 15 goals. So that's not even 2 goals a game. And all of a sudden, they get 3 goals in 1 period. Wow. That was something awesome. But overtime broke their backs. So the London Knights now have lost 8 straight games. They are 1-8-1. They have 3 points for the season. The hard times continue. However, you got to be I guess you got to look at it as the glass half full, or is the glass half full, or is it half empty? And if you want to look at it from a half full perspective, the Knights played very well in Windsor on the Thursday. Hung with them until the 5-minute mark left in the 3rd period, and then they lost. They outplayed Windsor on Friday night. Were all over them and couldn't get a goal. Did get a goal, but it wasn't enough. And then they played very well in this game. Again, owned a lot of the play, outshot Owen Sound, took them to overtime, but again lost. But they scored goals in the 3rd. They came back from a 2-goal deficit. Lots of things to build on from this game. Hold on here. Hold on. I got something coming through my ear here. Hold on. What's going on here? Hold on. Something coming through my ear here. Hold on. Oh, there's a bird coming through my ear here. Hold on. We got news here coming out of Knightsland. The London Knights made a trade after earlier in this week after these games. A big trade coming down the pipeline, and this is the trade. The London Knights acquired from the Sioux Greyhounds goaltender Joseph Raymakers, who has now played three years in this league. He's a pretty good goaltender. He's had his starting goaltender duties taken over on Sioux by a pretty good goalie. And he didn't want to play for Sioux. He wanted to play on a regular basis. So the London Knights have acquired him from the Sioux Greyhounds. In exchange, going the other way to the Sioux Greyhounds, Tyler Johnson. So a lot of fans have not liked Tyler Johnson. They have not thought he has been a good goaltender. So he's gone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Tyler. So Tyler Johnson gone to Sault Ste. Marie, as well as 3 draft picks going back to Sault Ste. Marie. And coming here is Joseph Raymakers. So we'll see what happens with that. I would imagine my thinking is Joseph Raymakers is going to be the starting goaltender here in London. And Jordan Coy is going to be the backup, and he'll get some games in as a backup and continue to develop in that way. But that is coming down the pipeline, that trade happening. It was rumored out there for a while, and it did come to fruition this week. And I also need to tell you about another trade the London Knights made. This wasn't this week, but it was previous to this week. But I should mention it in the show. They got a new defenseman on the defense, Shane Collins. So Shane Collins is a veteran defenseman. He came here from Barrie. In exchange, the London Knights sent their 14th round pick in 2018 to Barrie. And this kid actually comes from out west. He comes from Saskatchewan, and he previously played for the Prince George Cougars out in the Western Hockey League. So, got a Western kid in the lineup, and he's going to add some good veteran presence on the back end there with the amount of players they have lost this year on that back end. So those are two things you need to be aware of. Those two things coming down the pipeline, and so new defenseman and a new starting goaltender by the looks of it. And also some exciting news here. Some exciting news. Woo! Woo! Exciting news. Alex Formenton is coming back to the Knights. He started the season with the Ottawa Senators, my other hockey team, actually. They are my NHL team. But he's only played 5 minutes in one game. And I think they were just keeping him around distant for other guys to come back from injuries. And so they want him to play, and they sent him back to London. So he'll be back in the lineup this week with the games they have, I'm sure. Now, they got away games this week, the London Knights. They play in Kitchener, and I believe they play in Mississauga. To both road games, and they're not back here, I don't think, for a week and a half, actually. So, that's what's happening on that front. So, we'll see what happens. I think they play Mississauga, and that's going to be an intriguing game because Mississauga, just like the London Knights, have 1 win so far this year. Mississauga, of course, had a great season last year, but I think they've been hit hard with players not returning too, especially some guys they figured would be back. So that is what's going on that front. So what you need to know is the London Knights losing streak is at 8 games now. What you need to know is Joseph Raymakers is now a London Knight. Welcome, Joseph. He's a London native too, actually, so he's coming back kind of to his hometown, so that'll be interesting to see. And then Alex Formenton back with the Knights. The only other guy the Knights might get back at this point is Victor Mete, but he continues to play every game for Montreal, and he's logging about, I checked recently, it looks like his average ice time is around 18 to 20 minutes a game, so he's playing quite a bit. So, whether he'll be back or not, I don't know. He's playing a lot with Montreal. So, let's give you an update on the standings now. That's the last thing I want to do before I let you go. So, here's the standings. And some surprise teams at the top in the standings, really. The Barrie Coats have 15 points out east, and they are on top of their division. And the Niagara Ice Dogs are right behind them at 13 points. So a couple of teams that weren't in the playoff picture last year much, they're right at the top of their division. Peterborough Petes are playing very well. They got 15 points. They're expected to do pretty well. Hamilton Bulldogs have 13 points, so they're doing very well in that division too. Now, in terms of the Knights division, Kitchener Rangers are on top with 15 points, but they have played 2 less games than the Owen Sound Attack. The Owen Sound Attack have 14 points with a record of 6 wins, 1 loss, and 2 shootout losses. And they've played 2 less games, so they have 14 points. And the big surprise of all, right now, in my opinion, leading all of the OHL right now, is the Sarnia Sting. Sarnia Sting have a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, 18 points. They've scored 54 goals and only given up 25 goals. So they are on top of the entire OHL. Wow. But good for them. Sarnia Sting have not had much luck over the years, and I don't even recall them winning a playoff series in the last 12 or 13 years. I don't think so. The Sarnia Sting are doing really well, and we'll see. Maybe this will be a year that Sarnia will go far. But anyway, as I do at the end of every show, after I've given you an updated night's news, I've given you the standings and the scores. As I do at the end of every show, I like to do the night dance. So that's what I'm going to do. So here we go. Gonna do the night dance as soon as I get it queued up. And so just give me a second. Okay, so here we go. The night stance for you here on Nights this week. So go Knights, go! And maybe when I do my next show, we'll actually have some wins to update you with. So here's hoping. But the Knights are in Kitchener and Mississauga this week, and we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back next week to see what the Knights have done. Until then, take care. This is your host and superfan, Jason Banks, signing off.